Today I'm going to show you how the spellcasting, the propaganda, the dark ways of YouTube actually work. For many it's quite obvious, but here this is a little bit different. There's a little twist in the story here with this one. First we need to entertain this short Simon Dan clip.
What happens when a staunch flat earth legend starts throwing shade at the entire flat earth community? Pure pandemonium. And Level Earth Observer is having none of it. You've got to watch this one because the entire flat earth community is imploding.
Nonsense, Dan, and trust you to want to cash in on that and again misrepresent me through wordplay. You've even done videos where you highlight I'm not a flat earther, I'm a demonstrable realist. So again, Dan, you show your dishonest ways, but we're going to use you as an example today because it's one of your subscribers who's made a video about me that we're going to use to highlight the skullduggery and the dark ways of YouTube, courtesy indirectly of you, because this person in question has got all their beliefs regarding me from you, Simon Dan, and of course you're constantly lying and misrepresenting me. As regards Jaren, the community isn't imploding. Jaren's totally gone against the grain by simply claiming reality, physical reality, will be wrong in December should he see something going on in the sky. He's based that purely on his own belief system. So naturally he's going to take some flack for his crazy, almost U-turn like logic, which makes no sense. None at all. Bear with me. And now we're going to entertain this young Simon Dan fan who actually sounds like a kid, but is actually a lady in her mid-20s.
I've been watching flat earth content, mainly from a guy called Simon Dan, not Sideman. He talks about this guy, he's called Level Earth Observer, let's call him Leo. He's basically what every other flat earther is, a middle-aged man going through a midlife crisis. The way he took.
So I'm a middle-aged man going through a midlife crisis. The way I dealt with my midlife crisis was not to buy an expensive car, not to get a trophy girlfriend, not to buy into a materialistic delusion. No. My midlife crisis was simply to stand by physical demonstrations that can be tested and verified by all. Oh dear.
Just the way he talks, it just pisses me off, and I had to make a video on it. You know me, I don't usually make stuff like this, but oh my god.
No, we're going to have a look at the content you produce in a minute, and it's quite dark and quite disturbing.
I can't deal with him. And I'm not even like a scientist, I'm not even like one of those people who... I'm interested in...
It's obvious you don't have a Scooby-Doo about science, because if you did, and you heard me what I talk about, which is simply physical, practical references that can be tested and verified by all, you realise how silly you look, and how silly the man you watch, Simon Dan, actually is. You should have put two and two together by now and realised what Simon Dan's showing you in relation to my content and what he's telling you about me is incorrect. Actually, it's dishonest. But again, the education system leaves the general public with the discernment of a pebble. And essentially, when they deal with this subject, they're like lost souls, finding themselves in the middle of a field, surrounded by landmines. They have no map, they do not know what to do. They can't think for themselves.
Like space and stuff and all that, because it's interesting, I've always liked it, but I'm not like... People like Simon Dan does all that sciencey stuff.
Simon Dan has never, ever, not once, produced a single demonstration that would refute anything I've said regarding the Earth. He's not scientific in any shape or form. He's a pantomime character that fools the naive.
I just had to make this, because if he sees this, if that guy sees this who talks about flat Earth, that Leo guy, you could literally plonk him in a rocket, send him all the way up into space, point him to a window and say, hey look, there's the Earth, it's round in it, and he'd be like, that's a projection. Okay, I can't even, he just, oh my god.
The reason you struggle so much, young lady, is because your mind has been filled with propaganda by people like Simon Dan and of course Google and the mainstream media, and because you're unable to detach the propaganda from individuals like me because of characters like Simon Dan, it leaves you in a state of total disarray. You're baffled by it all. It's embarrassing to watch. But this is where the weird dark twist comes in. This has been a great example of highlighting how people, the general public, are confused by this subject because of the propaganda and the misrepresentations. Even though a channel like myself, who spells it out almost every single video, people still attach all sorts of nonsensical rubbish to you. I know whenever a video's been done about me, I get all sorts of idiots coming over trying to strawman me with nonsense that the content provider, whoever they've watched, has put in their minds. Delete and block these individuals instantly. I don't give them a single second of my time other than to block and delete them. But like I said, this is where there's a little kink, a little twist, because this young Simon Dan fan is actually a content creator. Bear with me. Now we're going to look at one of the many videos this young Simon Dan fan has produced. Her videos are cartoons mixed with music targeted at a young audience. This video came out in the height of the pandemic, January 2021. And I find it quite disturbing, the imagery and the lyrics involved here, particularly given the time in question, the height of the pandemic. What makes it even more disturbing is YouTube's algorithms at this point in time had been tweaked, made more strict. But that didn't apply to this video. They promoted this video and it got nearly 1.5 million views. And look at the message this content provider is spewing to its young audience at a time of when young minds were in an incredibly vulnerable state given the pandemic and all the nonsense that went on. YouTube's promoted this, and look. I find that creepy and disturbing. Anyway, yet alone the timescales and the target audience. But YouTube promoted that. The same as YouTube promoted the Simon Dan video. This had so far 250,000 views, where Simon Dan cashes in on muddying the waters and misrepresenting people like myself yet again. Off the back of Dan's video, I had loads of people trying to strawman me, claiming I had said there was no 24-hour sun in Antarctica. I've never made claims about places I haven't been to regarding the shape of the earth. So anyone kind of trying to strawman me off the back of propagandists spewing nonsense, I'll just block and delete you straight away. But this is the after effects of the propaganda, the misrepresentations, the algorithms. And look how dark and twisted it is. Young vulnerable minds having that tosh we've just viewed promoted to them while the pandemic was going on. And of course YouTube promoting Simon Dan, spewing his nonsense about the earth being spherical, which actually when you test and verify for yourself is physically impossible. Have a good one, everyone.